back to the Off-Grid family. Today I'm making myself a foam cutter. I've needed one for various projects and I just keep putting them off because I don't have it. Back when I made my son a superhero suit years ago out of those floor mats, I did it all with basically a blowtorch and a hot knife cutting through it, and that took me hours and hours and hours, well, more than hours. I want to make myself an enclosure for my 3D printer, one to keep the heat in and one to cut the noise down a bit, and so I'm going to use those floor mats as sort of insulation and heat insulation. So I need to make a foam cutter. Basically it's just going to be nichrome wire and some power with a lot of other bits and pieces added on. I'm going to try and use as much recycled material as I can, and also I'm going to start off by using something that if you watch a lot of my videos you will recognise. But let's get on, shall we? So the heart of this is going to be this puppy here, and if any of you follow along with my videos you will remember that this came out of an old toaster, and what I'm going to try and do is use this nichrome wire as the main cutting wire. So I'm going to take it off here now, and then I'm going to actually just do a few experiments, see if it works, see what temperature it gets up to and so on. Now, I'm not sure if you can pick it up in the camera, but this isn't actually thin, this is sort of like flat, not rounded, you know, like normal wire would be. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time now just trying to straighten it all out because it's all twisted in places and so on. I don't want any of these kinks to be a weak point. I've split a line down a piece of dowel that I've got, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the nichrome wire around this just to straighten it out a little bit more because there are a few little kinks in it, and this way I can keep it here so it won't get all damaged while I do the rest of it. And at this end I've actually got some other nichrome wire from another project, but it was too thick. There you go. As I say, that's just to hold it there and to hopefully get a few of the kinks out. Right, I'm going to build the frame up. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I'll do that and speed it all up, and I'll put all of the directions of how, you know, measurements and all that on the website. So that'll be up here. A link to that will be there in a sec. Okay, I've sprayed all of them down and I'm just waiting for them to dry, so now I'm going to get on with the electronic side of things. I need to do a few tests, which I should have done at the beginning, but you know me, I just wanted to get on and do it. So I'm now going to test the nichrome wire I've got to see if I can get it hot enough. If I can't, I'll have to buy some, but I'm hoping to do this pretty much all with Salvaged, so wish me luck. I'm going to be using a computer power pack, the 12 volt setting, because this is going to be my benchtop power supply, and basically I want to make it so that it's actually just plugs into there, so whenever I want to use it, I can. This here is the sort of stuff I'm going to be cutting, so I've just cut a small piece off and then I can test to see if it gets hot enough. Okay, so that's all wired up to 12 volts, to the 12 volts. What I'm going to do now is plug it in. Okay, it's getting too hot to touch now, so that is a real good sign. Let's see if I can get the thermometer on it. That's saying 35 degrees C, but it's hotter than that, definitely. Obviously it's not able to touch it very well. It's not very able to scan it, it's very small. This is a perfect time to try out the temperature probe on my multimeter. I haven't used it yet. Okay, at the negative end it is over 100 degrees. It's getting there at the positive, so let's move that out carefully without burning myself. It's marking the foam, but it's not cutting it. So it's definitely melting it, it's just not cutting it. You can see it is scoring lines, so it's getting there. I'm just going to leave it for a few more minutes. I just realised I had the fan from the power pack hitting the wire directly on, so that probably had an effect on it. Let me turn it right round a sec. Well, it seems hot enough now. Let's have a look. No, it's still only scoring it. I'll wait for a bit longer, and otherwise I'm going to have to make the distance shorter. It's still only marking it. So what I will do is I'm going to keep the idea of the crocodile clip for the main thing, and it means if it's not heating up enough, I can move it down. So it means I can like start powering it from like here, and which means there'll be the same amount of power going to it, but in a much smaller area. I just forgot to record it, but I've just put a switch in here. I drilled a hole through that was the same size as the switch, like the actual neck of the switch, let's say, and then I drilled out a bigger hole on the back just so I could get the whole thing in. But that will sit like that, and then the actual arm will come out from here. Okay, so there it is, all painted up. It's still not stuck together yet. I've just put it together to see how it would look. I want to stick it all together now, and then I'm going to start on the electronics. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with the electronics yet, but what I'm thinking of is having a piece of wood underneath so it raises it up slightly, and having all the electronics underneath then connected to the switch. But I'm not 100% yet. Right, I've got another washer I need to fit, but it's on the other side. But I'll leave that to harden first. Now off camera, I've drilled a hole that comes up through this screw here and out through the top, and this will be where I attach the nichrome wire to, and then I can twist it up to make it tighter, and that's what that bolt is for that I've just epoxied in. This is the underside of the base, and I'm just going to drill a little hole around here, not all the way through. About that out far, because I'm going to have a hook here that then will be connected up to the circuit, and then that's where the nichrome wire will hook onto on the underside. If you're having trouble screwing in a hook, if you just get a drill bit, oh, this one's too big, and basically use it like a lever, but that one's a little bit too big and I can't bother to get any more. Obviously a pair of pliers works just as well, but I also can't be bothered to get them. No, I'm going to have to, it's getting too tight. Now I'm just going to file a bit of the metal of the hook. Because I'm going to be soldering just down this point here. And it'll just make the solder a bit easier to connect. Next thing I want to do is wire up the switch, and that's going to be wired up to this blue wire here, and I'm just going to get this set up how it's going to be just so I can work out the length of the wire. I'll have to do. I've recently took off one of my solder heads because me and my son were doing some pyrography, and I've damaged the soldering iron, not because I took the head off but because I had it up too hot for too long. But there's nothing I can do about it now. I'll have to buy a new one. It's so bad. Okay, I need a new soldering iron as soon as possible. Ow. This is the worst soldering I've ever done in my life, I think. These switches are really, really sensitive to heat as well, so you have to be really careful not to overheat the switch. Right. I'm going to have to hot glue that in there. That's a terrible, terrible solder. Really, really bad. One thing I'm going to have to do now is check the continuity to make sure it's all working, because that is terrible, absolutely terrible. Well, it works, but it's the worst soldering I've ever done, I think. Definitely need new soldering iron. Thing is, since I did the pyrography with it, inside there's a piece that snapped, and basically it wobbles all over the place and it doesn't keep the temperature that it thinks it's keeping. So I'll have to go online later. Can't remember how I used to cover up all my mistakes when I was beginning, before the invention of the glue gun. It's a very, very handy little tool. I realised something that I was doing when I was doing this earlier. Not a single piece of this I've had to pay for. Every single piece is scrap. From the screws, this hook bit here, the whole lot. Even the switch came from an old RC remote. The base is off an old telly, like a proper old rear projection jobby. The red bits were from an old bench. I genuinely haven't. This is all. Even the washers came out of an old treadmill. So I haven't paid for a single bit of this. My favourite project. Right, before I start sticking it together, I want to glue the wire across the bottom, just to basically keep it flat against here. And the main reason I'm doing this is just to stop it bending at this point here. It just keeps the wires safe. Okay, now wait for that to set. What is it? Is it setting, drying, curing? I'm not entirely sure. Cooling? One thing I'm going to do next is I've got a couple of battens of wood I want to put across, and that just keeps this this hook from touching the work surface, and it keeps everything, like the wires, away from the work surface. So I don't want to be moving it around and scratching stuff, or, you know, pulling out bits and pieces. Now I think I'm going to add the battens of wood. One will go there and one will go round here. So I need to cut a bit off and then cut out a channel for that, I think. Again, this is all reused wood from other projects, or from, you know, things that I've taken apart. Now we need to connect this on and this on. Now I'm going to turn this up on its side carefully, and I'm going to screw into the bottom. I just split it, which is quite annoying. Okay, what I'm going to do with this crack is I've just drilled up inside again just to make the hole a bit bigger. I'm going to screw a screw up inside to pull it towards me, and then I'm going to get some super glue in there and clamp it together. Okay, so it's all completely dried now. I poked the wire back through the hole so that now I've got this loose end of wire here, and I've also drilled a hole just here for the wire that's going to come up the arm to the other side of the nichrome. I've also got the wire that I'm going to be using as the positive and negative, and I've put it into a connection block, which I'm about to carefully screw to the bottom here. Right, I'm actually going to screw it on the leg, because the chipboard that this is made of is pretty rubbish and it's just falling apart. The next wire I'm putting in is this pink one. As I say, I'm using all recycled stuff for this, so this came out of a microwave or a cooker or something. Right, I've made a loop around a screw. I'm going to solder that loop so it's a solid loop, and then this screw can be screwed into it, and then I've got somewhere to link the crock clip to. And there it is. It's just a simple, simple loop, and then I can just screw it in wherever. Okay, so I'm going to plonk the loop about here, and this is where I'm going to screw the screw in. I might have to make it a little bit bigger because the solders made the wires shrink just ever so slightly. Well, the hole shrink, not the wires. So I'm just going to sort of roughly estimate where this can go, about there. I'm not measuring anymore, but I'm just going to get it roughly in the centre. Okay, now let's try and get that through. That's it. Now they should have enough contact no matter where it is, and then what I'm going to do is have the crocodile clip like that, and then this can literally be anywhere along the wire I need it. So next step is putting the wire in. Now I'm pretty much done. All I need to do is start wiring up and putting in the nichrome wire. So I'm going to just take off some of my little spool, plunk it through the hole, let's try and straighten it out first. side. Now with this side I just want to make a little loop. I'm going to hook that on the hook. Now that's there to stay. Now the wire comes up through this little hole into the hole of the screw. I'll take that out and show you. "10 minutes later." I didn't know how far it went down. Come on. Then I'm just going to put it up through this hole and out and then screw it down, but I might have to take it back out. Right, hang on. And then you can see, listen. Oh, and it's come out the hole. It was a silly idea taking it out to show you because it needs to be a little bit lower. Okay. There you go, and that just allows you to get it to the tension you want. Right, first of all I want to try with just normal polystyrene. Oh, that cuts literally through like butter. Maybe I should have had a potentiometer on here just to be able to change the heat, because as you can see it's actually melting it onto it. But that cuts really, really well. Obviously I'm not trying to cut straight. That was my attempt at straight. Still not straight, but it's close enough. But you can see all the smoke coming off, so that means it's melting at a bit too high a temperature. So if I was to do another build of this, I would actually put the potentiometer on that I was going to put on. Okay, now the test with this stuff. Now it takes a bit longer, but it cuts it absolutely fine. So it's cutting quite successfully. It's not the best. I'm wondering if I can get it a little bit hotter by moving this down a bit. But, you know, it works. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.